Hi, my name is SalahIssa, assistant professor at the University of Illinois. Today, I'd like to welcome you to Grain Safety Week. This week is about protecting the people who feed our communities. And today, we're going to highlight how industry, farmers, academia, and government all work together to make grain handling safer. To begin with, I'd like to show you our data. This is data from Purdue University, who's collected it for years on grain entrapments. Part of that came from government funding through OSHA Harvard grants. But what you see here is a trend line. It's been steady between 20 to 40 cases per year since at least 2005. And what's really interesting here is that it's not just steady, it goes up and down, up and down. So for example, 2012, which was a drought year, we had one of the fewest number of cases currently. And then similarly in 2009, 2010, which was a really wet year with a late harvest, we saw a peak number of incidents. What I am going to invite you today is hear from SalahIssa, who can talk about how she worked on this trends and use predictive analytics for it.
Thank you very much. So the idea of this project came from seeing these trends of grain entrapment incidents over the years, and we wanted to use this information, and we found that there are some factors that has effect on and cause the grain entrapment. So we wanted to use all this information as the input of our predictive models and ask the machine learning models to predict us the probability of the grain entrapment incidents. So we used some information for our model's inputs like weather condition, the grain storage capacity, and the amount of corn produced, and also grain entrapment cases. For each specific regions of 5 states of Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa, and Wisconsin. So we use this information as the inputs of the model, and then the model train and learn the pattern from this information and predict the grain entrapment incidents for us. The best accuracy that we got from our model was 78%. Which is telling us that the model could learn the pattern and could learn something from those information to give us the probability of the grain incident. But also it tells us that it's not the perfect result and it can be improved. So we can say that we can use this model as the foundation model, and it can be improved also as well. And how this model can help us. So based on the information that the model can tell us, it can tell us for some specific region, for example, there's a high risk of the grain incident for the following year. And based on that information, the policymakers, for example, they can see if they want to put some warning signs, and it help the people who work on that area to be aware that's a high risk of the grain incident in this year, or if they want to do some safety training for those people. So I think that can be helpful. And yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sahar. We also have with us Gretchen Mosher, professor at Iowa State University, that can tell us how she can bring these stakeholders and the results that we get from this.
Thank you very much. I have led several projects where we have utilized expert panels, drawing those experts from industry, academics, and the regulatory and government sector. One of the things that these panels often do for us is they provide us some conceptual ideas. They bring a different perspective, a different angle, and a different approach, but they also can identify where we have missing elements that would improve the models that we are building and constructing. One of those projects highlighted the lack of knowledge that we have on grain storage bins in the upper Midwest. And so we are in the process of beginning a project where we intend to use GIS, Geographic Information Systems technology, to identify the practical characteristics of the grain bin, including the location and the size and the capacity. This is one example of how we can utilize feedback from industry and from governmental sectors, as well as the regulatory industries, such as insurance providers, along with the expertise and input from academics. And it helps us to create focused, relevant policies and findings to be of most use for those working on the farm and in the grain elevator. So thank you for offering me the opportunity to talk today. Glad to be here.
Thank you very much, Gretchen. Grain Safety Week reminds us that safety is a shared responsibility. And when industry, farmers, researchers, and government work together, we can create solutions that that can protect our workers and make grain handling a safer experience. Thank you.